Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ethos Online. Again, this is a place where you can be, belong, and become the very best version of yourselves. And so, for many of us joining, we stepped away from the tribe, or we've been asking deeper questions, or we just want to go a little bit deeper and look at the historicism and understand the reason behind these messages. Whoever you are, whatever your reason is, we're so glad you're here. So again, Ethos, we're a nonprofit organization. We do our very best to share all these messages of what it means to be a better human being. And so if you want to partner with us again, look at the details below in the descriptions. There are ways to partner with us and continue sharing these messages about, again, how to be in community, how to understand self and the divine better. All of these different messages, they're all here. We'd love to partner with you. And always, please consider subscribing on our YouTube channel. So, anyways, all of that said, welcome. Whether you're joining us from your couch, your living room, your bathroom, right, wherever you're joining us from, thank you for being a part of this. This is so fun. So, we're getting closer to the end of this series, A New Way to Be Human. And again, for me, when I look at the teachings of Jesus, I don't see this message of you better get your crap together or God's going to smite you. That's not the message I see. And when I look at the message of Jesus, these beautiful teachings, I see ways, like ideas of how to be a better human being, how to live with fullness. That's the idea, the teachings of Jesus. And I think they're so profoundly beautiful. Whether you have one perspective on who he is or a different perspective, whatever it is, the teachings themselves, they are so beautiful. And there's so much, I would argue, base notes to it. We live in a culture where there's a lot of high notes out there, right? A lot of fluff. But the teachings of Jesus are filled with these deep, reverberating bass notes that just they hit the very soul of who we are, who we want to become. These messages, I would argue, are so needed right here, right now. And so again, the teachings of Jesus on the Sermon on the Mount, I would argue, are some of the best teachings from him. And so that's why we're taking so much time. We're looking at verse by verse by verse, dissecting it, understanding the culture, the context. Man, it's been fun. And so again, any Jewish person reading this immediately connects Jesus to Moses. They understand, again, Jesus, 40 days in the wilderness, Moses and his people, 40 years. They're making all these connections. Jesus is the next stage of what it looks like to be human, what it looks like to be Jewish, right? For us, we can take that and say, man, these teachings are actually bigger than just Judaism. They connect with humanity. And so all of us, whether we're Jewish or not, whatever we are, these teachings can help us. And so anyone reading this at that point in the first century, they make a lot of connections. They make so many connections. And again, we understand if you were in the first century after 70 AD, you experienced terrible loss. Again, you lost your temple, you lost your hope, you lost friends and family. And you're at the point, you're in crisis mode and you're asking, where's our hope? Right? Where's our future? And again, many people right now are asking that same question. And Jesus' response is beautiful. The response is, there's resurrection just around the corner. There's new life. And it doesn't happen in a temple. It actually happens in you. And when it happens in you and community, the world benefits. The world sees it. And so again, this is the teaching. This is Moses 2.0. These are the happy are you if you do these things. This is the message of Jesus. And this is the Sermon on the Mount. And so we're going to delve into it a little bit more. Today I'm going to give you chapter 7 of Matthew, 7 through 12. It's a hefty amount again, but we're going to take our time. Because again, I would argue we need to. These verses are so profound, so helpful to life. I think it's so important to go verse by verse. So let's read it together. I've highlighted the first section we're going to go to. We're actually going to look at the last section first and then go to the beginning. But here we go. Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it shall be opened. Or is there a man among you who, if If his son asks for bread, shall give him a stone. Or if he asks for a fish, shall give him a snake. If you then, being wicked, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more shall your Father who is in the heavens give what is good to those who ask him? Therefore, whatever you wish men to do to you, also do to them. For this is the Torah and the prophets, right? This is the law and the prophets combined. This is a summation. This is what it is. So, first thing first, if you are in this time period, again, first century, when you read this over, especially this last part, you immediately make a connection. You immediately pick something up that today we don't pick up. Because again, we're not Jewish and we don't live in the first century. Why would we, right? Unless you've really done a lot of study. But in the first century, here's what's going on. There are two different houses in Judaism, two different ways, two different thought processes of how to view Torah and Judaism in general. And so one side is the house of Shammai. Good. And then the other side is the house of Hillel. These are two very famous rabbis who had two very different views of the rituals, the ceremonies, interpretations of Torah, the law, the prophets, all of it. These two houses, they had very different views. And so when you read this, the message of Jesus, what you'll notice immediately, and again, let me put it this way. Today, many people will ask you whether you're this or that, right? Whether you're red or blue. If you say you're blue, right, then blue is going to have some different political connotations to it, right? If you say you're red, if you're red, there are going to be certain values and certain perspectives, maybe in religious various things, that fit with the red. So again, in that time period, they weren't asking you what political perspective you found more helpful, right? They weren't asking you which side you viewed, whether an elephant or a donkey. That's not what they were asking. They would ask this, Rabbi, right? Teacher, which house do you belong to? That's the question. And the rabbis, what they would do is they would answer by talking about Torah and giving the interpretation. And when someone heard the interpretation, they immediately connected, okay, you're with Hillel. Or, okay, you're with Shammai. Got it. And then they would kind of decide whether they sided with them or not. But here's the interesting thing. When you look at the teachings of Jesus, he actually sides more often with Hillel than Shammai. If you look a little deeper at Hillel, you'll find Jesus aligns almost identically with his understandings of Torah, rituals, law versus grace, enemy love, helping the poor. All of those elements are all part of Hillel. However, the one time Jesus will side with Shammai is where they're talking about divorce. Hillel would say, you can divorce your wife for anything, right? But again, there was something going on during this first century we understand now. We understand men were just simply looking at women as commodities, and they would leave these women with absolutely nothing after a divorce. So Shammai, in this moment, says, no. In order for the divorce to be finalized, for it to be legal, there must have been adultery that took place, which again caused so many people to shift the way they viewed marriage, the way they viewed partnering with someone, how they viewed women in general and their worth. It shifted things. And so in that moment, Jesus actually will say, no, I actually side with Shammai at this point. Pretty interesting, right? Here's the interesting thing here. There's a story. There's a story that's going to connect our verse. And I'll just read it to you because I find it really fascinating. So this is a story about Hillel and Shammai. And this was before Jesus steps onto the scene. So keep that in mind too. Here we go. There was an incident involving a Gentile who came before Shammai and requested, "Convert me to Judaism on condition that you will teach me the entire Torah while I stand on one foot." Again, how would you do that? All 5 books? The entire Torah? Impossible, right? That's what most people hearing this story would say. No way could you do that. Like it takes these young men 12 years of study before they can actually step and become a follower of a rabbi, which then they'll continue studying for another 10 to 15 years. Torah alone, right? This is heavy. Stand on one foot. Again, like tell me in a couple minutes the entire Torah. How could this be? So Shammai says he pushed the man away with a building rod he was holding. Again, the idea here is he actually like, get away from me, almost strikes him like, get out of here. You're being ridiculous. He found it offensive, Shammai. So he basically like pushes the man away. However, he also goes to Hillel, right? And again, this story, probably more metaphorical than anything. Who knows? Maybe this really did happen or not. We don't know. But the story continues, and the story was told during Jesus' time about Hillel and Shammai. And so the person apparently, supposedly, goes to Hillel and says, to which is hateful unto you, do not do unto you. Oh, okay, so yeah. So he asks the same question of Hillel. Tell me the Torah while I stand on one foot. And Hillel, rather than rebuking him, he actually answers this. To which is hateful unto you, do not do unto your neighbor. This is the whole Torah. All the rest is commentary. Now go and study. This was Hillel. Again, Hillel basically says, if you think about this now, the whole Torah is summed up in do unto others as you would have them do to you. Some of you have heard this, haven't you? Yeah, interesting, right? Other interpretations of the story will say something very similar. Other interpretations say he actually says, love your neighbor and love the Lord God as yourself. Again, there were different interpretations of this story all going around. Everyone had heard it. So yeah, again, Jesus over and over again in this verse in Matthew specifically connects Jesus and Hillel. And so again, the question, when it says this is the law and the prophets, this is it, does that mean that the law and the prophets is now replaced with this one golden rule? Because some people will say that. They'll say, well, now that Jesus said that, all those 10 commandments we throw out, right? All of the Torah, all of the stories, all the prophetic things, all the Levitical laws, all that, we throw them out. Because now all we have to do is just be kind to people. Do unto others as as you would have done to yourself. We throw it out because Jesus just said, we don't need it. Again, I've heard this over and over again. Here's the reality. If you were to say that to a Jewish person, especially in the first century, it wouldn't just be laughable. It actually might get you like stoned to death. This would have been absolutely heretical. Because here's the thing. The Torah was filled with such richness. So many voices, historical voices over the past saying, look, here's a way of how to be a better human. Here's something that we learned through tragedy and pain and brokenness. Here's some victories, some triumphs. Here's some advice, wisdom from the ages. To say, nah, we throw it all out and we're simply going to just follow this thing now. Just do unto others. Seems like a good idea. And truth is, if I live that way, truly, if I went around and said, I'm going to be nice to people just like I'd like them to be nice to me. If we live that way, it would be a better world. But there's so much wisdom there that throwing it out would be insane. And so we understand it's not that those things have been replaced by this golden rule. Not the point at all. The point is this is a summation, right? A summation essentially does, it takes all the values and the ideas and it simplifies it into one. But don't forget the beautiful wisdom and the narratives and all of it that brought you to the summation. The summation is great. It's a one-liner. But don't forget there's something beautiful and deep and rich in the festivals and the traditions and the narratives and the wisdom voices, the prophetic voices, all of it there. Jesus was not doing away with the law. He was actually saying this is what it looks like summed up. Yeah, really beautiful. And so then when you look a little deeper, you'll also notice, again, this is why Jesus will say things like this. Matthew 22 says this, and one of them, an expert in Torah, asked him a question to test him, right? Teacher, which commandment in the Torah is the greatest? Jesus told him, love your God with all your heart, with all your soul, all your mind. That's the first greatest commandment. Second, love your neighbor as yourself. Again, doesn't do away with it. It sums it up. And here's why this is beautiful. And let me go into this a little deeper even with you. When you think about the 10 Commandments, and again, most people They're not, most people can't even quote these, by the way, right? We don't remember which ones are which. We usually end up with like 7 or 8, right? We're missing a couple. We're like, what are the other two? I don't remember. Don't steal fruit from, I don't know. What is it? Give away toilet paper. What are the other 3, right? Let me show you the beauty of this answer that Jesus gives. And again, totally in alignment with Hillel, totally in alignment with Matthew 7. Watch the beauty here of what the 10 commandments were for these people. Because again, this is the law and this is the prophets. This is what they're talking about in Matthew 7. So watch this. First off, the first 3 commands. Look at this one now. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord in vain. Here's the beauty of this. It's actually broken into basically 3 sections. The first section here is this. Learn to have a connection with the divine. And again, the divine for you could be so much bigger than like a middle-aged man sitting on a cloud, right? It could be something like we call the universe, right? Or God, the Father, whatever the connection is for you. But here's the thing. Live in harmony with that. Find a way to not make it an idol, right? Don't make it this graven image that just becomes a ritual. Make it something that is so a part of you, it's in everything you do. That's the idea here, the deeper issue. Connection to the divine. Those first 3 is all about that, how to live in harmony with the divine, the universe. Whatever, you put the word in there, whatever fits for you, but I think you get the point. And then comes this one. And this command is often left out. And again, I find it really beautiful, actually. This command is this: remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Again, does this mean I have to worship on a certain day, and if I don't, then I don't get my golden ticket to heaven? No, that's not the point. It's actually really beautiful. Here's what this verse does. This verse kind of almost right in the middle. What it's doing here is it's building a bridge. It's a bridge command. Because what it does is it takes you from the universe, the divine, God, Father, however you want to describe God. It goes from this perspective to my community. And how do I get there? I learn to be an observer. Come on! Like someone out there is like, oh, because that's the point of this 4th commandment. It's all about learning to sit, observe, and be a part of everything going on around me. Because if I'm in connection, if I'm in harmony with the divine, then that's going to make me aware when I'm sitting and observing and enjoying the beauty all around me. It's going to make me aware of the divine within not just me now, but my community as well. Yeah? Oh, I think that's so good. Because watch this now. After command 4, what happens is commands 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 all come into play. And if you read these over again, when you read those over, you'll see honor your mother and father, love your neighbor, don't commit adultery, don't bear false witness, don't covet. All of these ideas, these are all intricately a part of how we live in harmony with the people around us. So again, 1 through 3, how to be in harmony with the divine, the universe, God, how to be in harmony with that. 4, how to observe that harmony, how to observe the beauty all around me. And once I see that and observe it, I will become observant and aware of the community around me that's bearing that same image. And I can learn to walk among them, be a part of it, learn to graciously give and love others well. That's the beauty here. Now, that took me, 5 minutes to explain. And so again, what Jesus does here is he sums it up. Love people, love God, and love people, right? He sums it up. And that was the perspective. When you look at Matthew 7, that last portion, for this sums up the law and the prophets, we understand it doesn't replace, it's simply summing up. Now, let's look at the beginning of it. Because again, this beginning part has kind of become like a Hallmark promise. People will remember the beginning, but they won't remember the middle. Usually they'll pull it out of context and kind of lose its meaning. But let's look at it together. Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it shall be opened. Think about that one. I think that's really beautiful. When there's something I need, when there's something I want, I learn to go in a process. First, again, I seek. I seek the thing out. I understand this is something that's needed. It's important. It's life-giving. I learn to seek it. I learn to observe. I learn to look for it. Secondly, knock. That's going to take some action. Not only have I looked around and I found it, it's going to involve me now taking some action. I actually go and I begin to try to participate in the thing that's going to bring life. Yeah, I begin knocking, right? And then the next part, when you knock, again, the thing's going to be open for you. I'm going to knock, right? I'm going to knock. So again, this process is a process of learning to ask, learning to enjoy, take it in, receive it, and then learning to give it. That's the beautiful process Jesus is referring to. And again, it goes way beyond a Hallmark promise. And then this next part, is there a man among you, if his son asks for bread, shall give him a stone? If he asks for fish, shall give him a snake? I think you get the picture here, right? When you ask for things, when you put yourself out there, when you are in harmony with the world around you, with God and your community, good things follow. Good things follow when you are out asking, seeking, knocking, when you're doing your part to become a better human being, when you are out there following this God, the universe, the teachings of Jesus, all of it, when you are doing your best to be a part of this flow, when you're doing those things, good things follow. We talked about consequences. Good consequences follow. It's just the natural way the universe works, and it's beautiful. And what I really find interesting about this chapter, or I shouldn't say chapter, the set of verses, is that it's really a reference back to Jeremiah. Yeah, you probably didn't know that, but watch this. Again, the writers are always connecting the past to the present. And so when you read this, you'll get it. And again, context of Jeremiah, watch this now. They lost their temple. They go into exile. They're asking, is there hope for our people? Is there any hope? Have all good blessings gone? Are we only now living in a place where everything is gone and again, death to our people, all this, is that the place we're living in? And Jeremiah's response, watch it now. For I know what I have planned for you, says Yahweh. I have plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Again, imagine that. I have good plans for you. There are good things ahead, and I know it doesn't look like it, but there are really good, powerful things in your future. And I know you can't see it right now, but there are. And maybe like someone needs to hear that right now. There are really good things ahead. Just continue following that flow, right? Continue moving in the direction that brings life, and it will happen eventually. I have plans to give you a future filled with hope. When you call out to me and come to me in prayer, I'll hear your prayers. When you seek me in prayer and worship, you will find me available to you. This sounds familiar, right? Again, it's almost a direct quote. If you seek me with all your heart and soul, I will make myself available to you, says Yahweh. Then I will reverse your fortunes and will regather you from all the nations and all the places where I've exiled you, says Yahweh. I'll bring you back to the place from which I exiled you. Beautiful, right? And again, don't get too caught up in like, why would God exile them? Well, no, this is how they viewed the world. This is how they viewed God. They've evolved, right? The bigger picture here is simply this. When you live in harmony with the divine, with yourself and community, when you live in that kind of harmony, when you live the law and the prophets, you receive things that make you happy. You just do. Those are the natural consequences that follow. And yes, we get in ruts. And yes, catastrophe strikes. Yes, there's brokenness, there's pain. But there's always, out of those ashes come life. Always. Right around the corner, there's new life waiting to break forth. That's the beautiful message. And so if I could sum up the words of Jesus like he summed up the law and the prophets, I would say this. When you live in harmony with the divine, self, and community, you naturally receive the things that make you happy. You actually you actually become Torah and the prophets. You become the thing that you've been reading about. You become the living, breathing temple. That's what you become. And good things naturally will follow. That is the consequence of putting yourself in alignment with those things. Yeah. So here we go. How do we live it out? I would argue this. We live it out by constantly delving into it fully. And so for me, I just want to give a very simple how we live it out today. I would say this: look for the things that bring life, right? And again, for me and so many others, the teachings of Jesus do that. And so look for the things that bring life. Look for those things and align yourself with those things. Those things bring deep, deep life. So I'm going to skip through a couple of these slides here, but those are the things that bring life. Align yourself with those. When you do that, you will find that you align yourself now soon with the friends and the family that also bring life. Not only that, different values, different teachings, different rituals, all those things come together. You find yourself over and over again experiencing more and more life, deeper and deeper base notes. This is the beauty of it, right? This is life more abundantly. And again, Jesus talks a lot about alignment here, how we view the divine. And it starts, again, that beautiful three-part process of the law. I learn to see the divine everywhere. I align myself with the divine. I take time to observe the divine around me. When I do, I see it in community. And when I see it in community, I learn to participate with it, with them. It's beautiful. It's rich. I hope you enjoyed this teaching today. I just want to end with donations. If you found this helpful, if you found that, you want to share this with people, like this is so good, and I would argue it is so good. The teachings of Jesus are beautiful. If you find yourself saying, I want to share this with people, please do so. And if you would like to support this and help continue this ministry with the videos, the Ethos living rooms, the blogs, all of it, please consider donating. All you do is go to ethos-church.org/donate, give that tax-deductible donation, and help support what we do. And also, if you want to be a part of a group of people every month, twice a month, that talk about the liminal space, how to apply these teachings, how to live fully, please join us. Email me at tonywerfel@gmail.com. I'll send you the link. I'd love to have you participate with us. Lastly, subscribe. Watch the videos, share them, subscribe, hit the little bell button. You'll know when we have a new video. Everyone, thanks so much for joining us. I love you. This was kind of fun. This was heavy, but this was fun. I can't wait to join you next week as we continue this series, A New Way to Be Human. Talk to you soon. Love you.